And we are back. We've just taken a brief break. We have looked at the market. Now we are trying to understand the manufacturing sector. A couple of things are happening in Kenya today. COVID-19 has meant a global as well as a local disruption of supply chains. This is a pertinent point in time for us to decide if Kenya as a country wants to get into the manufacturing space, pay attention to it, and reap the benefits that come with manufacturing locally. Earlier today, NCPA as well as the Strathmore Business School had started a live conference for SMEs. In this conference, Mr. Lawrence Kariuki, who is the Cabinet Administrative Secretary, of the Ministry of Industrialization, gave his comments on behalf of the Cabinet Secretary for this ministry. The comments are tallied around what is happening when it comes to manufacturing. What do we need to do? Let's have a look at what he had to say, and then I'll come back with a brief comment. Don't go anywhere, because in about 10 minutes or so, we will have a live virtual interview with Kenya Association of Manufacturers, just to get the perspective on the ground in terms of what is the opportunity and what do you need to be focusing on. Over to our studio team to show us the clips from Mr. Kariuki.
Consumer behavior, supply chains and routes to market are disrupting business opportunities. Responding to the pandemic has underscored the enterprise to accelerate the adoption of agile ways of working and value chain transformation to help outmaneuver the uncertainty. There is also on finance. We are in an environment where the enterprises are faced with plummeting revenues. We are in an environment where the enterprises are faced with plummeting revenues. Cost. Further interventions to adopt may also require investment in key technologies, processes, and people. SME are now looking to build necessary resources required to seize new emerging opportunities. In response to this, the government has established the credit guarantee scheme for SMEs going forward. I heard Dr. Jenga talking about the credit in an environment where the enterprises are faced with plummeting revenues. Cost. Further interventions to adopt may also require investment in key technologies, processes, and people. SME are now looking to build necessary resources required to seize new emerging opportunities. In response to this, the government has established the credit guarantee scheme for SMEs and is currently in the final stages of regionalizing it. It is aimed at ensuring the survival of our SMEs and sustainability going forward. Manufacturing is going back to its roots. External supply chains are fragile and are not as predictable or cost-effective as they were previously. It makes business sense at least regionally and shorten the supply chain supply chains will be the norm. Government are also more inclined to promote local manufacturing. And this was clear immediately the COVID pandemic was declared. We found it very, very difficult to import some of the most important or essential goods, and this has made countries shift their mindset so that they can start producing local. What the government is doing is that last month, the government came up with a list of 300 items which must be procured locally by the government and all government agencies. Why is the government doing that? The government is doing that local manufacturing. And most of these items are items which are being manufactured by the SMEs. Again, to support the SMEs.
So what we have Mr. Kariuki saying there is certainly the government has heard the plight of SMEs and is also aware of the disruptions that had happened globally and wants to take this opportunity to actually change policies to support local manufacturing. We hear the CAS saying that digital transformation is imperative if these SMEs are going to connect to market. I think we have our graphics team that's able to put out a chart for us just to show us what has been the trend in manufacturing from a global standpoint. How does it look like in Africa, and what should your focus points be? So you have the data points with you on the screen as we speak. So now let's come back and take the second part of this conversation. Now we are hearing that credit guarantees are being extended or are in the pipeline in terms of thinking and extending this to businesses to be able to support them to engage in the manufacturing sector. Second thing we hear from Mr. Kariuki is that 300 items have been put on the list in terms of what can the government procure locally. Do you know these items? Are you paying attention? Let's have a look at the tail end of his commentary from earlier in the day for your benefit.
This is something we are almost at the tail end, because once the government developed the credit guarantee scheme, there had to be legislative backing of the scheme, and that is what we are about to conclude. There is also the impact on technology. Even before COVID-19, landscape has become increasingly dynamic. Some barriers to SME, individual, and county levels have been overcome, while new barriers have emerged. The new business models have transformed buyer-seller relationship and development. As digital transformation has accelerated and underpinning the digitization of other services. Now, what are the implications for the policy? Government has increasingly recognized that e-commerce offers a radically rapid technological development.
Rapid technological development, that is what Mr. Kariuki is saying. This must happen if we're going to get into the manufacturing stage. Now, the beauty for us is there's opportunity to actually leapfrog. In other words, rather than looking at the back, our history in terms of where we've come from, inefficiencies, there are global solutions at a global level that you and I can be able to adapt into or adopt so that we can be able to get the opportunity in the manufacturing sector. Up on your screens, you will see a document that we were able to glean in terms of the manufacturing and how is smart manufacturing going to look like globally, and how will this also look locally. I think our graphics team will put up that for you. PwC did last week have a presentation talking about smart manufacturing. I await for that graphics to be put up for you so that you can just get a sense of what is smart manufacturing and what are the opportunities. Looks like there's a bit of a delay there. Okay, so we will come back now to Mr. Kariuki, who will now give us the tail end of this conversation. What is becoming emergent is that the businesses need to think about a new business model. For manufacturing to work, we need to think about a new business model. How does this model look like? Over back to our data team for Mr. Kariuki's closing remarks.
In conclusion, we need to look at what does the future of this new normal hold. That is the new normal, which has been, because everything has shifted because of COVID. Now we are living in the new normal. What does the future of this new normal hold, especially for the SMEs? Despite the challenges, opportunities abound as the global economy undergoes what is known as the Great Reset. The way we do business has irreversibly changed, and the business that adapt quickly to these changes while keeping an open mind and creating value in the new economy will undoubtedly lead in this new dispensation. New roads of opportunities are cutting their way in all our lives. Prospects in unlikely places, opportunities will show up in growth, delivery, technology, education, and healthcare. Manufacturing is going back to its roots. External supply chains are fragile and are not as predictable or cost-effective as they were previously. I'd like to challenge the business to, that is the SME businesses, to ask themselves these three questions. The first question for the SMEs: are we resilient enough to survive this new environment right now? What is his strategy for bouncing back so that he can survive the new normal? Secondly, how fast are we adapting to our new normal? How fast are we adapting? Are we fast enough such that we'll take advantage of the new challenges and the new opportunities, or will be too slow such that by the time we adapt, the world will have gone to another level, such that we'll have to make 3-4 steps to reach those people who adopted fast? And secondly, are we ready to embrace the new business model? Because if you are not ready to embrace this new business model, then most likely you'll be put out of business.
Fantastic. If you do not adopt to this new business model, you will be put out of business. What I hear the Cabinet Administrative Secretary of the Ministry of Trade and Industrialization saying to us today is there is an opportunity to actually leapfrog. For this to happen, the fourth industrial revolution has to be something that is anchored in your mindset, anchored in your thinking, if you're going to be able to harness this opportunity in manufacturing. Resilience is key, agility and being first to market is imperative. He's given us the policy directive. The government is hearing, the government is seeing these opportunities. The government is thinking about a credit guarantee. The government is telling you that you have to be agile and very quick and responsive to market opportunities. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, now we want to hear from the representatives at the Kenya Association of Manufacturers. They are the association of all the manufacturers in Kenya. We want to hear. Challenge has happened, COVID has happened. The government is thinking in this particular way in terms of policy and directive. What is the work on the ground? What are the opportunities? What are the challenges? We take a short break and then we will be able to articulate this particular case for manufacturing in Kenya after a few.